that one. So I got through to like the final bit, but then I didn't get that part.
Oh, aye.
But like we all got offered parts in the show anyway. So I was still in the show. I was still in Oliver in London.
Oh, right. What part did you get offered?
I was like one of Fagan's gang.
Oh, really? Aye.
Which is more fun to be honest, because you're like it was a good laugh and all that, and it's like a more sort of like fun part, you know, and it was good fun. You do it with all your mates and that. And like it was good to still be in the show, even though I didn't play like the main part or anything.
You still got a wee
part. Yeah, it was
part.
still a good experience, you know.
So a lot less stressful than being Oliver, not
Yeah, exactly, man. That's a lot of weight on you, you know, being Oliver in a show that's called Oliver, you know. But when you're in Fagan's gang, you're like young, cheeky, you like pickpockets, you know, and you're like cockney and all that.
So you fit into the role quite well.
Yeah. It's good
so
fun.
what age did you say you were at this time when you were in the show?
So I was 10 when the TV show was on. When
TV show.
Was on. Yeah, I was 10 during that. And then I think I was like 10, turning 11 when the show was on in London.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So how did it feel like being on the telly at 10-year-old? Did you feel any pressure after that? Or how was that? What, been put in the kind of spotlight a wee bit?
I mean, I had a little bit in the spotlight already because I'd already done some like theatre shows before that. So I was in like a show called Chitty Chitty Bang Bang was the first show I did.
Oh, really?
In Bristol, the Bristol Hippodrome, which is like a big theatre. It's like 2,000 seats.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the biggest theatre in Bristol. And like I started off there when I was like 9 years old. I did this show and I did like a 3-month run of that. And I was like one of the main kids in that. So you got like the 2 adults, then you got the 2 kids, Jeremy and Jemima, and I was Jeremy in that. So I was like a main part in that. So I was used to like being on the stage and like being in front of people. I'd done that, but you know, TV obviously is different. But like I've at the time you don't really, because you're 10 years old, you don't really. Think about it.
It's hard to take it on, innit?
Yeah.
You don't really take it seriously, but it's the fact that you've been in theatres, it's one of the ones you're kind of used to an audience. Whereas obviously television's a bit different, but you've kind of had that kind of exposure.
Yeah,
the first time
and it was similar as well because the show was filmed in front of like a live audience, so it felt like familiar. It was like, I've done this before, you know. I've already performed in front of live audiences, so
it was basically theatre, but it was getting filmed for
camera. Exactly. Yeah, so I wasn't really like scared or anything, and because I'd done theatre when I was younger, I was like dead confident, so I didn't really get nervous. I wasn't scared about it or anything like that. Whereas some of the guys on it who'd maybe like not done any theatre work or any TV work before,
getting a bit of stage fright.
Yeah. Whereas for me, I just had a laugh. I just had a laugh, you know. It was good fun. I enjoyed all of it. Like it was a crazy experience that happened when you're 10 years old. Like I said, like got like 7-8 million viewers every week, so it was a big show. Like I get recognised in the street and all that. Like,
really?
Yeah, for like months after. Like every time I go out, you'd always get some like mums running up to me like, "Oh, I've been watching the TV every Saturday night." You know,
I've been watching you in the telly singing songs.
Yeah, so it was cool. Then, like 10 years old, you don't have to go to school or anything like that. You know, it's fun. It was a lot fun period of my life. Like
amazing, man. How did you end up getting into that? Did somebody did you have an agent in that representing you?
Later on, I did have an agent.
So how did getting into all the theatre stuff actually happen? I mean, how did you? Was it something that your ma wanted to do, or did you want?
Yeah, it was just by chance, really. So it's like I used to love watching like Disney films growing up, and I'd sing along to all the Disney films. I loved it. I didn't think anything of it. I was just a kid who liked Disney films. But my mum and dad said I had a really good voice, and then one of them seen. I think my dad saw in the newspaper that there was like a little article in it saying, open auditions for Chitty Chitty Bang Bang that's coming to Bristol, and it's going to be on for 3 months. But they were advertising like smaller parts for like what are called the sewer kids, which is like the ensemble. Like they're just sort of like the backgrounds, like they only do a couple numbers.
But sewer kids, you'd never get away with saying that nowadays, would you, man?
But yeah, so just the ensemble cast really. And then when I turned up and I did my auditions, like after I did my first one, they said, actually we're going to be going for like the main part, like Jeremy.
Really? So it's one of the ones you never really knew. We're just applying things to kind of be back.
But like it wasn't my idea. My mum and dad said, well, we saw this in the paper, you should go for it. So I was like, yeah, sure, why not? I was 9 years old. They said I had a good voice. I was like, why not? Sounds fun. They said I'd make some money off it. I was like, that sounds cool as well. You know, I could buy myself a new Nintendo and shit like that. But yeah, so when I got there, thinking that I was auditioning for one of the ensemble, they said to me, actually, we want you to audition for the main part. And I was like, all right, cool. And then I think the auditions.
Did you have your long hair in that at the time?
No, just like brown hair like that. Yeah. And then I think the auditions went on for like 2 days, and then they said, yeah, you got the part.
So cool. See when you turned up, did they turn up and hear you audition and go, no, we want you to do the...
Yeah.
So they heard you first and no, wait a minute, he'd actually do better than a main role.
Yeah, they sort of like split the kids into like, you guys are going to go for the ensemble, and then the people over here are going to go for Jeremy and Jemima.
Basically the good ones and the
not necessarily. They're all good. You've got to be talented to be in the show.
Just like selection, we used to get picked for the fucking old football teams when you're a wee guy, man. You always get, I did anyway. I was the pure most unathletic, clumsy cunt. I get left till last, man. I know how it feels to get It's not nice, man.
Yeah, it was cool. I never thought it was something I'd be good at, and I never even thought about it. But mum and dad said, you should do this audition. I was like, alright, cool. Did it and got the part, and just carried on working there for like 10 years straight.
So see, when you done that, did that open? Did somebody see you doing the Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, and then you started doing other things, or did your mum and that get you like an agent or like something?
Yeah, well,
so
after that, I joined like a school in Bristol called like the Bristol School of Performing Arts, which is like a drama school, so I could sort of learn how. Because I was like, right, obviously I'm talented. If I got in this show and with no training or anything like that, so I was like, well. My mum thought, well, why don't we get you some good training, so then you're more better for more shows. So I think I did some little bits and bobs, but then the next thing I did after that show was I Do Anything, was the first one. I think I did a couple more shows at the Hippodrome. I might have done like Joseph, but then like the Oliver show was on. We found out about that because there was an Oliver TV show on BBC One, like a sort of like recreation of the book, like not a musical, just like a drama.
Right.
And then at the end of that, they advertised like, oh, there's going to be this new show, I Do Anything, and they're holding open auditions in London, and anyone can come and audition to be like on the show. And we'd already watched the ones before, like the one about, because they've done this show for like 3 years now, like each time a different part in the musical. So me and my mum had watched them the 2 years before, and we were like, oh great, we should go for that. And went for that, and then it was just sort of all from there. But that was like the second major role I did. The first one I did was Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, and then I did a couple little bits and bobs in between, just like training at their school, and then I went straight to that at 10.
So see, I Do Anything, I've never seen that before. What kind of show was that?
So the format is, it's like a singing talent show. So like with the adults, it's like every week someone gets knocked out. Like, so you start off with 12, and every week all the ladies sing a solo. And then at the end of it, the audience, whoever gets the least votes by the audience.
So they just
So
get
it's
like the X Factor.
Basically X Factor, but
Yeah,
for
yeah,
theatre.
exactly.
Aye,
X Factor,
but the X
theatre.
Factor, the
But
audience
with the
decide who
kids,
goes.
with the kids, it was different because they thought, because we were all like, 9, 10, they thought that's a bit straining on the
savage.
mental health.
I know, the fucking
Like,
audience
they
got
can't
that.
really do,
Get me
they
fucked.
can't really do that to kids. Like,
I know.
which one of you kids got the least votes this week?
Who's
You're
the
out of
worst
here.
one
You know,
to
like-
get to?
Yeah. So with the kids, they did it differently, where every week one of the lads would get through to the final stage. And there was like 8 spots in the final stage.
So instead of who's the worst, it's who's the best. Not
Yeah,
who's
yeah.
the best.
So it's basically
It's no your crap.
Yeah,
You're be
but
here.
it was-
It's
that
you're
was
the
all-
best at the moment.
But that was all done by the judges. That wasn't decided by like the audience.
Aye.
Like with the adults, it was like X Factor but musical theatre. Every week someone gets voted out. But obviously with the kids, they can't really do that. So it was a bit different. But it was that was the sort of format of it. Like it was very much X Factor but musical theatre. But they did it like 3 or 4 years in a row on BBC.
Oh, really?
I mean, it went right opposite like Britain's Got Talent. It was that time. So it was like prime
matched it for
time.
viewers.
Yeah, it was like prime time. So it was like that was the two on at the same time. It was Britain's Got Talent and I Do Anything.
Brilliant,
Britain
man.
Got Talent smashing these, but not when did they get lit?
No, I think a couple of times. They beat them and all. Like this, it was a big show. Like it was.
Close it.
Mums and families and all that were right into it. It was like
Aye.
a real families loved it.
Nah, because you can't get fed up. Britain's Got Talent, because it's probably Britain's Got Talent without the fucking sob stories, I know.
Yeah,
It must have been quite class getting on it, not I mean after watching it for like a couple of years and on and then getting on it. Because I remember being a wee guy, I don't know if you ever got this, but like watching Big Brother and then being like, I'd love to go and that.
Yeah.
Obviously I was never old enough.
still
then,
do
like,
it, fuck's sake.
It's not hanging anymore, not I mean.
Aye,
But obviously if
the
I
old
could
ones.
have old enough to apply for it and I got on it, I'd have thought that was class,
Yeah.
not I mean. So you actually done it.
No,
and
I
then
thought the
got
exact
it, not I
same
mean, so
thing.
it's-
Because like I said, the year before, my mum watched the whole show. Like it was to choose the next Joseph in London, and Joseph with his amazing technical Dreamcoat, and we'd watch it every week. And like you said, I think to myself, God, that'd be class to be on a show like that, singing musical theatre songs every year. And then a year later,
that's amazing, mate.
I was one of the people on it. So it was crazy.
How did that feel?
Feeling it felt cool, but at the time you can't really appreciate the grand scheme of things. When you're like 10 years old and people say to you, oh yeah, 7 million people are watching you every week on TV and WC, and you're like, oh.
No, I just don't. That's
It
not
doesn't really process because you're a kid. You've not really
Aye.
got the sort of ability to process that much information. So you just sort of have a laugh and take it for what it is. But like, we've done some crazy stuff. Like the one Davie was amazed by was like every week the Olivers would do like a challenge every week.
Right.
And the week I got through, so it was like whoever did the best in the challenge would get through, to the final stage.
Right.
And the week I did it, we went to the training grounds for Tottenham Hotspur.
Right.
Doesn't even like football.
That was the challenge. Yeah, I don't know.
Doesn't
I've still got this
football.
Tottenham Hotspur strip back in my
What
house.
football
somewhere.
players did you meet? Tell them.
We met was it Robbie Keane.
Robbie
Irish?
Keane, aye.
Yeah, Irish guy. We met him. We had like a sit down with him. He told us what it's about being a football player. And then we saw
Jermaine, who was his second
Jermaine Genus.
Jermaine Genus.
Jermaine Genus. You seen that? Paul Robinson, I think.
The
was
goalkeeper,
there.
the old Leeds
So yeah,
goalkeeper.
so we were at this.
Who's you
at
seen the
training-
Rangers striker? No, remember
Who?
Defoe.
That's what I thought you said Jermaine there.
No, he met Jermaine Genius, but he calls him Jermaine Genius.
No, like, these guys we didn't like meet. We just seen them like walking around the stadium. But like Robbie Keane, we actually had like a big. We had like this like sit down like huddle with him. You know, like we were on a circle.
He was a team captain, so he's
hyping us up and that. Yeah.
He was probably paid a good wage for that.
But like for me, like, I didn't watch football or anything like that, so it didn't really process anything to me. But when I told like Davey and that, and I said I met all these players, it's like, you know what, that was crazy. You know, but I was like, oh, was it?
I'm exact same, mate. See, with football, man, I couldn't fucking name you any cunt that plays for any team.
Yeah.
A couple of cunts if I picked a name out of a hat. Fuck, I thought fucking Nakamura still played for Celtic. I don't know if you understood. He used to play for Celtic.
No, I do know.
Oh, do you know?
Yeah,
Thank fuck.
I've heard of Nakamura. Yeah, I've heard of that.
But the fucking.
It's just because the wrestler called Nakamura. And
yeah, that's why.
Really?
That's why.
For fuck's sake.
And obviously he's got the same name. His name is Shunsuke Nakamura, and also
Yeah.
obviously.
Fuck off.
Yeah.
Is he a mad Celtic fan?
No,
It's just.
Is he Japanese?
Yeah, he's Japanese.
So is that his real name?
I think that's his real name.
I thought it was like a wrestling name. He just picked. He was
No,
a heavy Celtic fan.
that's
To be
actually-
fair, Nakamura is heavy,
I
but
couldn't feel the Gallagher fucking rolling about with chicken Nakamura. It makes sense.
But aye, so that's obviously how you know that. To be fair, but aye.
So how did you end up doing in the competition then?
So I did well. We like.
I mean, it was a good competition and all because we started a wee bit after.
Well, you were doing a challenge here. This is the one you.
Well, yeah. So there's 12 boys, and obviously the 3 winners of the show, they get the part of Oliver in London at the Theatre Royal Drury Lane. This massive theatre, it's got like 2,500 seats, right in the centre of right in the West End of London. And so, like I said, there's eight spots in the final, and every week one of the lads gets through, and there's 12 of us. So I got through like the 3rd week. So you know, I got well pretty soon. I got the 3rd week I got through, and then once 8 of us have got through, the 4 remaining lads who didn't get through, they get told, you know, you've not got through. But they don't like I said, it's not with the adults. They don't kick them off the show. They're still on the show and stuff, but they're just sort of. Not singing the main songs.
Oh, so they'll just help them kind of thing?
Yeah,
you
like
can't
still
sing,
there.
but you can help, okay?
No, like they're all
backup dancers.
We're all there. Like I said, we all got parts in the show, but then when the final 8, they then decided out of the final 8 which 3 were going to get the main part of Oliver, and I didn't get the main part, but I still ended up being in the show, and it was.
So what was the actual format of the show? Because you were saying the first time it was like each person sang a song and then they get eliminated.
Yeah.
But what was your kind of? Did you all sing a separate
So
song?
no,
and then
the kids. What we did. So the lads, we did like one group performance, just like all together, and then we did one solo performance. So whichever lad got through that week, he would sing the solo in the performance, like the one you see of me when I sung A Whole New World.
is that your one? So did you
Yeah,
win that?
yeah. So that
Make
was.
sure and put a link so you can watch it.
So that was the week I got through. So that was me like singing my solo. Every week one of the boys got through, they'd sing the solo and the boys would do the backup. But then you'd also do like a big group performance as well. Or sometimes you'd do 2, you'd do a group performance and you'd do like a performance with the ladies as well, with all the Nancy's. So and then with the boys,
I never actually seen any of them on
challenge,
YouTube. I've seen a few of them on YouTube, but I've not seen any of the ladies.
Yeah, but then the boys would find out who gets through, like on the challenge video. Like at the end of it, they'd say Andrew Lloyd Webber and the Cameron McIntosh. They'd be like, "Oh, today we thought that so and so did really well in this challenge, and he showed all these great qualities, which is why so and so is making it through to the final stages."
Oh, right, so you give a wee spiel.
Yeah, so like it wasn't when like the crowd are there, you know, so like just in case like no one fucking cries. Yeah, exactly. You don't want that, so they film it before so they can sort of keep it like a nice, comfortable environment for the kids. Because at the end of the day, like when you're working with children, you've got to be sensitive, you know.
Sounds like they were ahead of their time, man, because back in TV shows they were fucking ruthless. If you compare it to X Factor back then.
Britain's Got Talent, you know, you see kids going on there,
9
years old, getting slaughtered, you know.
I know, man,
like,
fucking grown men, fucking booing,
fucking
audience.
That can scar someone for life, you know. If you're a kid, like, that's a traumatising experience.
I
So, see, you know, obviously, because I know more about you and that. See, you know how you done like modelling stuff in that kid that you showed us the pictures on that. Did you get that before the Oliver? Was that through that as well? Was that stuff that you got through?
I mean, that was just a bit of both. That was just the agency that I signed up with. They would get me sort of all sorts of different work. So sometimes modelling work would just come up, you know, if they needed me to do something. So like mainly it was like musical theatre I did, because the musical theatre was such long jobs. Like normally I'd be in a show for like 6 months. I'd be in a show for like 9 months, you know, so a long time. But in between that, I'd do little bits and bobs there, like some films, some TV.
What was some of the
modelling.
stuff that you've done, just so that?
Well, musical theatre I did after Oliver. I then went on to do a 9-month tour in The Sound of Music. I was one of the kids in that, as Kurt Von Trapp. He's like one of the 7 Von Trapp children. I did a 9-month tour of the UK in that. So
who were you sharing a bus with after the shows?
well, so you stay in a hotel That's a different one. I'll get to that. Yeah, I did Singing in the Rain. I said Sound of Music for 9 months. And then after that, I went on to do Matilda the Musical, which was this like new musical that was opening up in London. It's now gone on to win like every award under the sun for like best musical.
Oh really? Aye, but the one you were in?
I was in the original cast.
Oh really? Aye.
Crazy.
What part did you play?
So I played a part called Nigel, like one of the kids. A good part, speaking part. It was a good.
I've only seen the film. I've never seen the play. I don't know how different it is. How much different it is.
It broke a record in London or something because it got signed on for like a 10-year contract straight. Like after the first 2 years that showed the theatre, I'm sure they like signed it on for like 10 years because it was so popular. And, it was a brilliant show, but that was great fun to be a part of. Like say that I was part of the original cast. If you go,
you're one of the reasons that get signed up to that 10-year deal.
Yeah,
So
part of the process.
What age were you at this point?
At this point, I was 13.
So was this after the
when I finished Oliver, I would have been 11, and then after that, I would have gone near enough straight into the Sound of Music. That was the first year I started school, secondary school, which I went to a theatre school in London, Sylvia Young Theatre School.
So what was that? You went to a theatre school instead of like going to like your secondary school?
So
that was part of your education.
When I was in Oliver, because there was so many kids in Oliver, there's 50 kids in each team, and there's 3 teams. There's 150 kids in the show. So many of these kids went to this school called Sylvia Young. It's cool to hear about Sylvia Young, and I was in year 6 at the time.
What's that? Just for
the last year of primary school.
So primary 7.
So I'm about to go into high school.
The last year of primary school was year 6?
Year 6.
Oh, right. Aye.
So I'm about to go into high school, and then I hear about this school. It's a secondary school in London, and it's a theatre school where they do like 3 days academics. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it's an academic school, and then Thursday and Friday you're doing your vocational. So you're doing like dance, singing, acting, like it's a theatre school. And I said to my mum, I was like, "Hey, mum, can I go there?" And obviously, she had to sort of bring me back down to earth because unfortunately, private schools were a lot of money.
Right, so it was one of those we had to
we didn't have much money growing up, So I always had my mum, single mum, but I always had a roof over my head. I always had meal on the table, that was never an issue. Always had everything we needed.
You weren't as poor as you thought you were.
Yeah, but exactly, but I didn't necessarily.
Don't really
I wouldn't have the latest game.
You didn't have the luxuries, but you had.
I didn't have the latest game console or the latest toys and all that, but always had a loving family, roof over my head, food on the table, So everything when you get older, you look back.
Stuff you appreciate. At the time, you're not going to all your pals, go to the computer, you're not going to your raging.
But when you grow up, you're happy. You
realise when you get older, you're like, wait a fucking minute.
You've got a better concept of money as well. If you didn't have money growing up, I feel like you appreciate it more when you're older. Like you're not.
Yeah, that's what you find. People with fuck it off, get the most to give.
Yeah.
So seeing you were out, obviously you were performing plays with Matilda and that. Were you making a wage after this?
Yeah. Well, so this is how I ended up going to Sylvia's in the end, anyway.
Oh, so did you end up going?
Yeah, because they offer. Because obviously it's in London as well, so I would have had to move to London basically to go to one of these boarding houses to live in. And I said to my mum, because she said, I hate to break it to you, like I really wish you could go there, but you just won't be able. We've not got that money. Like we can't send you to a private school. So I said to Mum, I was like, well, what if I pay for it? Like, because I've been doing shows, I've been making a good bit of cash, like, and I'm not spending anything. My mum had this agreement with me because obviously she's in charge of my finances.
So she gives you like an
allowance
kind of thing.
Yeah, she had this agreement with me where like every time I did a show, I could buy myself like one big thing.
Aye.
So I think like the first show I did, I bought myself like a Nintendo DS because all the kids had one in that show. The next show I did, I think I bought myself a PSP because everyone in the show had one of them. So all the other money was getting saved in my account. So I had a good bit of money. And I'd already done Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I'd done the show on BBC One, and I'd done the show in London. So I had a good bit of money saved up in this account, which hadn't been touched. So I said to Mummy, I was like, what if I carry on working in theatre and I pay myself through it? And like we could sort of do a deal where we're sort of splitting it. So like me, my mum, my dad were sort of splitting it 3 ways. And because I got a scholarship as well, so I got a half scholarship, which meant I only had to pay half the fees anyway.
Oh really? Aye.
So in the end we managed to make it work, and it was great because Sylvia Young Theatre School is also an agency. So when you go to the school, you're also a part of their agency, which means that they're constantly finding you work as well. Which like
money and all that.
I kept on working.
It's basically paying for itself.
When I was at my first year at Sylvia's, I did the Sound of Music, and I did a 9-month run on that. Right after when I was 11, and I finished that when I was 12. Then when I was 12, I got into Matilda, and I did the full run of that. And I was like 12 when I started that, 13 when I finished. Then after Matilda, I did a show called Singing in the Rain. in London, or in between that actually, was really fun. I did the pantomime in Bristol at the Bristol Hippodrome, and it was my first time performing at the Hippodrome in a while. And it was Peter Pan, so it was Peter Pan.
Oh, really? So was
Captain Hook was David Hasselhoff.
David
Hasselhoff, man.
Fuck's sake.
And I was John, so I was like Wendy's younger brother, like one of the main parts.
Right.
But yeah, David Hasselhoff was Captain Hook. It was brilliant.
Who was that?
Just because.
Who was that? Meet him.
Awesome! Such a cool guy.
Tell about the story.
He's exactly how you imagine he would be. Like,
I imagine him to be a mad legend.
He introduces himself and he's like, "Hey everyone, my name's David Hasselhoff, but you can all call me the Hoff." That's the first thing he says to all the kids, right?
Fuck's sake.
And like, he's such a larger than life character, like in real life. So when we it was because it was pantomime. It was at Christmas time. So at Christmas time, we got told that David Hasselhoff's gonna be doing this really nice thing for the kids, because obviously that when you're a kid, you're in a show with this big guy, you think I want a picture with him. So what he'd done is he'd dressed up as Santa Claus. Big David Hasselhoff, and the kids would come in, sit on David Hasselhoff's knee, like go and see him, and he's got like this bag, he's got this a big stocking, like full of different presents. No way.
And you had to go and fish him on it, and you fucking lucky dip, and
you come in, you take a picture with David Hasselhoff, and him driving you like that. Yeah, I'm sure I got the picture somewhere. And then he's dressed up as he's in his Captain Hook gear, but he's got the big Santa's like stocking which has got all the presents in it. And you take a picture of him and he's like, "I took a gift," and you take one out. And that's a present. So I've still got it at home. It was those bouncy eggs.
A bouncy ball?
No, but it looks like an egg.
Oh, but it bounces.
It
bounces. It doesn't bounce right, but
so yes,
also
if
you bounce
in here, it would go poo. Yeah, like he gave. That was what I got, and I still got it in my house.
What did everybody else get?
This bouncy egg that David Hasselhoff gave me.
What was the other presents? What did the other people get?
I can't remember, man. Just like little stuff you get in cracks and stuff.
But he definitely didn't pick any of them.
Yeah.
He just went a bit. What's in this?
It was cool.
Definitely.
After that, I went to do Singing in the Rain in London. At the Palace Theatre, this beautiful theatre right in the centre of London. I think it's like 2,000 seats as well. I did that for 6 months. I did that for. That was a good laugh. And that was the last sort of musical theatre show I did, because then I was like 14, turning 15 in that. And then that was when my voice broke. And obviously, when you're a kid, when you're in child's musical theatre, you having an unbroken voice is sort of a big part of that, So obviously when your voice breaks, you can't do really any shows anymore because you can't sing those notes.
You can't reach. I know.
So you said you worked with David Hasselhoff. Was there anybody else that was as big as that? Anybody that became as big as that?
There's some crazy people you meet in theatre. Like the biggest one that always surprises everyone is Tom Holland, Spider-Man in the Avengers. In all the new Spider-Man films.
I don't watch the Avengers. I can't get into
the latest Spider-Man.
Well, the latest Spider-Man.
I couldn't.
So he started off in musical theatre as well. And he was right about. He's the same age as me, I'm sure. Tom Holland, 23 or something like that. I'm sure he's right. And so when he was doing musical theatre, I was doing musical theatre as well. So like he was in Billy Elliot, and I think I was doing Singing in the Rain at the time or something else. But like when you're a kid in musical theatre, like sort of everyone sort of knows everyone because everyone's sort of doing different shows and stuff like that.
So it's kind of like a community.
Yeah, you're always in the same circle of people. So I'd met this. I've met him a bunch of times, and we used to share at my boarding house. It used to be like the boarding house for the Billy Elliots as well, which is the show that he was in. So like one of the guys that ran it, he'd do this show run for the kids after, because obviously you finish late. Kids all live in different parts. So what he'd do is it was like a sort of lift service where he'd
pick up
a little minibus. He'd pick up all the kids from their different shows because there's maybe 3 or 4 shows on in London at one time which all have kids in. Mm-hmm. So they all need taken home. So if their parents can't come and pick them up, he'd go in his minibus and he'd go and pick up all the different kids and he'd take them home. And so that when I was Singing in the Rain, they'd pick me up, and then after that they'd go and pick up the kids from Billy Elliot, and Tom Holland was one of those kids, so he'd be sitting in this minibus, and then 10 years later,
he's fucking Spider-Man.
Yeah, I see Tom Holland announced his new Spider-Man. I was like, what?
It's crazy. You've seen us, man.
I was like, we used to do shows together.
Man.
No, man.
No, his voice no breaking, no.
I don't think his voice is broke yet, to be honest, man.
So where did you see him? Is he a young cunt then?
I think he's the same age as me. 23.
I see. I don't follow all the Spider-Mans and that, and I see it's for me to know it, but I'd probably know him. I've probably seen him in something else. But see, try to picture, put the name to the face. I can't.
Yeah.
There's been a few movies since then, but I can't even think of it either, to be fair.
It's more likely I've seen the other films he's been in and you've seen the Marvel kind of shit, you know what I mean?
But now he's doing well for himself. Obviously, Spider-Man's as big a movie part as you can play. He's done great for himself now. He's doing loads of other stuff.
Definitely, he's man leading roles, man.
But he was a good guy, you know. Like it's not like I knew him, you know, but we were in the same
just kind of like fucking in a greeting basis.
Seeing
him
out and about, you know, we'd see each other at shows, and like I said, we get this little mini boss, you know. But yeah, it's crazy, just someone who's in that same circle as me, you know.
I know, it just shows you, doesn't it, man?
Like, yeah, he's Spider-Man, you know. It's crazy.
That's crazy, man. Spider-Man. I know you grew up watching Spider-Man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's fucking every cunt knows who it is. Know what I mean? But so see, obviously you get back to when your voice broke. That's when obviously you couldn't continue doing the theatres. How did you feel at that point? Were you like, fuck?
I mean, yeah, it's especially like when it's a tough thing to go through when that's what you've been doing for the last 15. I've been doing this for 6 years. You know, I've been in musical theatre shows, and you know, I've done a lot of cool stuff, and I loved doing it. And when you're a kid, you don't really process it. You don't really think of when that time's going to... Oh, eventually my voice is going to break.
Did they ever warn you about that? No, didn't he?
No, obviously, yeah. You're not stupid. You know it's going to happen, you know, but at the same time, you're not really preparing for it because you think when you're a kid, you don't really have that concept of time. And then it happens, and luckily I was quite a late bloomer, you know, like my voice didn't break till I was 15, so I had a good run as a kid in musical theatre, you know, as good as one can have.
Breaking at 13 and 12 and that.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of the boys did.
My fucking voice broke when I was born, man.
A lot of the boys voices were breaking at 13, but I was so undeveloped right up until I was 15. Like I was like 5 foot, you know, like up until I was like 14, and then my voice broke and I grew like 7 inches in a year, you know.
Oh, really? So just happened in the space of a year then?
Yeah, like I was tiny for like my whole life up until I was 14, this little high voice, and then my voice broke and I grew like 7 inches, and I just fucking, it was like, I then like couldn't be a child in musical theatre shows anymore. So after that was when I started doing some different work, and I was doing some film and some TV.
So what kind of stuff were you doing?
Just little bits and bobs, like TV. I think I did this one on Sky One, just sort of like little bit parts.
You're in a movie, aren't you? I've seen on your IMDb.
Oh yeah, I was in
some... You get an IMDb, we'll put a link up to that, man.
I was in some movie called like Mariah Mundy or something.
That's where we need Doc, man.
Curse of the Midas Box or something.
Aye.
Yeah, but that was good fun. I did that in Bristol. I think the main guy that was in it was did you ever watch the Fantastic Four when you were younger? The film?
Right.
Yeah, you know Captain Fantastic. It was him. He was the main guy.
Was it a character?
Yeah, he was cool, man. Yeah, he was cool. So I done that, and then I did, like I said, I did this little show on Sky One called like The Five or something. I just did sort of like 1 or 2 episodes in that, and then I did the Star Wars advert. It was like a advert for HP computers where I was like this little geek in his shed, like making an R2D2 so you can artist girl out on a date. And that was really cool, especially because I was a Star Wars fan growing up, you know, like I've got R2D2 tattoos on my legs. So.
Oh really? Yeah. So before you get done that advert?
No, I got it after the advert actually, but
it was
paid for it, didn't I?
Yeah, but I done that. I think I was like 17 when I done that. And
see, this point, but see, obviously you said your voice broke. That's when you couldn't continue doing theatre. See, the school you were going to, were they still represent you as an agency?
Yeah, so all this stuff I still got through my school. It was just I couldn't do musical theatre anymore.
Right, so you had to branch into other kind of avenues.
That was your bread and butter, I imagine.
I couldn't do kids. I couldn't be a child in musical theatre shows anymore because I was like 5'7" now and my voice is broken, you know. So I couldn't be the cute little kid with the balls haven't dropped.
You're getting a bit too gruff.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't be that guy anymore. So like I was doing this different stuff. I did do a show in London, which was really fun. It was just like a drama show. It was an acting gig I did. It was called Our Town at this show in London, at this place in London at the Almeida Theatre, and that was great because by this point I'd just finished school, so I was like 16 here. So I moved back to Bristol, obviously, because I lived in London, but I lived at a boarding house so I could go to school, but now I didn't go to school anymore, obviously I'm not going to live in the boarding house anymore, so I moved back to Bristol, and then shortly after moving back I got the part in this show in London, and it was great because I didn't have anywhere to stay in London. My dad, he's got a canal boat. It's like been in our family. It was his mum and dad's canal boat.
Really?
This big long
I'd
canal
love to
boat.
find him.
Beautiful. It looks like the one from
Is
Rosie
it still
and
going?
Jane. Oh yeah, it's cracking. I hope so.
Where does he put it?
My dad owns it now, and he docks it in Birmingham.
Does he stay in it? Is that his residence?
No,
or is it
no.
Is it like a caravan in the water?
Yeah, sort of.
Basically,
like that.
Sort
of like that. But it's like still in great neck, you know. It's a beautiful thing, and it's got like a double bed in it and 2 double beds and that. And so my dad said, well, how about I because the canals are long, you can do it, you know, because canal boats only go like 4 miles an hour or something like that, you know. So it's slow. But my dad says, well, why don't I take the canal boat down to London and me and you just live on it? And I was like, yes. So we've gone down, and obviously.
What age were you at this point?
What's that?
What age were you?
16. So I just finished school. Yeah. So my dad was like, I'll take the canal boat down to London because they've got laws down there where it's like visitation laws, I think. So you can stay docked up in one spot on the canal for, I think, 5 days or something, a week, without, because obviously you've got places where you pay to just stay in one bit. Or you can just, like I said, go 5 days one place, and then when that runs out, just go somewhere else for 5 days. Yeah, so we just did this. Like, there was points where we were staying like right in the centre of London, man. It was crazy.
Oh, really?
Living in the centre of London, like right outside King's Cross Station. And it's like this little world that no one knows about, the canal, you know. You just walk down some steps, and here you are at the canal. And there's like a whole community of people living there. You've got loads of people living on the boats.
So there's a lot of countries doing the same thing as well.
Yeah, and it was great because I got to live in the centre of London, you know, for 3 months.
Rent free.
Yeah, exactly. With my dad, we were having a great time, you know. Like, it's a beautiful canal, but like the only bad thing was it didn't have a shower on it. So what I did is, because I was in the show anyway, I was getting a bit of money. I just bought like a really nice gym membership. It was to one of the Virgin Active gyms. Aye. And it had like this like amazing like rock pool spa and shower and all that.
Yeah.
So like I just in the daytime, you know, before the show, I'd just go there for a couple hours and just relax and all that. So it was cool. It was a great time in my life, and I had good fun. Like, it was a good experience with my dad as well. Something I'll never forget. You know, the two of us. Yeah, living together in the cow. But it was
man. It sounds it.
And then after that, so that was 3 months or 4 months. I did that for. Moved back to Bristol for a bit.
What about the game and all?
Oh, the game. I'm trying to. When was that? I was still at school when I did that. I think I was. This was like in between two shows. This would have been in between Matilda and Singing in the Rain. I was in probably one of the coolest jobs I've done. I was in a video game.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it was Castlevania 2: Lords of Shadows on like Xbox 360 and PS3. It's like Castlevania, these big games about Dracula.
Aye.
And I did like the motion capture for it. So I had to wear, like, you see how they do in like Lord of the Rings, like how they do Gollum and stuff.
Aye, they pull in the bag, sitting in that.
Like the black spandex suit, and you've got like these little reflective
like balls
all over you. Yeah, so we did that. And I had to like wear this, and I was Dracula's son in this video game.
Oh, really?
Oh, it's great.
The character actually looks like him on
yeah, like, I've got the video.
Yeah,
because it's motion capture and they got the balls on your face. Like, his facial structure is the same as my facial structure, you know. So it looks like me.
Have you ever played the game?
Yeah, I've got it on my PC, but I've actually not got around to playing it. But I do have it.
You still not played it?
I'm gonna play it eventually, you know.
I would love to, but do you get to
see
play the guy? Or is it a guy? A character you play?
Killed it before.
No, you're not like a playable character.
I'd fucked if you had to kill Dracula's Wayne.
No, you only play as Dracula. You only play as Dracula, so I was in like the cutscenes and stuff. It was cool, man, because I had to do all the motion capture, and that was like a really cool thing to do. Like they sent me through a copy of the game. I've still got it sealed, my original copy. They sent me like when it came out and that. So that was a cool job to do. But yeah, but then I moved back to Bristol. I did the show in London for a few months, and then when that was done, I had to move back to Bristol. So my dad took the boat back up to Birmingham, and I moved back down to Bristol. I just sort of didn't do much for a few months. I was auditioning for Hollyoaks.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so after I did the show in London, I got the call for this audition in Hollyoaks. It's for a big part. And I went up to Liverpool, so they get you the train and all that. You got to go to Liverpool where it's filmed. And I do the auditions there. And I started going to a bunch of them. They kept having me back. So I did, I don't know, it must have gone up to Liverpool like 5 or 6 times to do these. And then after I got these, then they said, okay, we're going to be doing a screen test with you. So that was when, like, you know.
So what's a screen test then?
So it's like when you're on the set, and they'll film the scene as if it was the scene that they would do.
Right, so you just need it as if you're actually playing a part in it.
With the cameras there and everything, you know. So they can watch it back on film and see how they think you look.
Just see how you look.
Yeah, and so I got right far. And then in the end, it was between me and this one other boy. And it was, obviously he ended up getting it in the end, you know. But, you know, that would have been, my life would have been probably.
How did he get on after that? Do you know?
Oh yeah, he was on the show for like 5 years or something.
Oh, did he? So you got a last role. Do you remember who it was?
I can't remember what it was. I remember what the boys' names.
Do you remember the part?
Richard Linnell, but I can't remember what his. I don't remember what the part in that was. But yeah, like that was. So I did a bunch of auditions for that, but didn't get it in the end. Probably for the better anyway, because I wasn't at a great point in my life at that point, and I don't think like moving to Liverpool and having like a good amount of money coming to me at that point in my life.
Especially at that age. But we were like 17 at that age.
17, yeah. So
no, I mean it's a lot to deal with. It's one thing dealing with it as a way, I mean, you've got your mum and
I was going through like this rebellious stage at this point where I wasn't really a nice person to be around. You know, I wasn't treating my mum nice and stuff like that, and I was making making bad choices and doing stupid stuff that you
You're a young boy, mate.
shouldn't be doing at that age. Yeah, but I think
you'd probably ended up the Bristol's fucking Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. I think it was a blessing in disguise me not getting that, because I think how I was as a person at that point in my life, if I had loads of money coming to me straight to me, I think I wouldn't have done well. You know, I think something bad. But
plus and off, you end up doing that Hollyoaks thing. You're saying you'd end up being big in that, but even I know that you always wanted to be a wrestler, but you just never really thought that was something you could have done. So if you got Hollyoaks, you might never have became a wrestler.
Yeah, all this
even
time
though you might end up being like, rich and famous and successful, that would be the stuff that you actually want to live and day, not you're actually living your dream.
All this time, I was still like massive wrestling fans. I watched wrestling every week. But then I didn't get Hollyoaks. You know, I was a bit gutted at the time, but I got over it. You know, and then after that, so the last acting job I did before I moved up to Glasgow was the Star Wars advert. So that was like right in that would have been 2015.
So that came after you done
after I'd been doing all the
Hollyoaks
auditions, yeah. So I didn't get them. So that took a good. That was a few months I was doing that, you know, for.
See at this point, but was it ever at any point you were like, right, I want a change here, or was it just that you're that used to it, or was there any? Did you ever get fed up, or just?
I felt like for the last couple of years, I sort of felt like I was sort of going through the motions. Like I wasn't really. Because I'd grown up, my voice had broke, you know, you have that change in mind when you get to about 16, 17, you've grown up a bit, you know, and my mindset was changing and I wasn't enjoying it as much as I did when I was a kid. And like I said, I was making some stupid decisions, so I wasn't at a great place in my life. And I just felt like I wasn't really enjoying it anymore. I was doing it, you know, and I was going up to do these auditions, but like I wasn't really putting 100% into these auditions. So like I'd be getting scripts and like I wouldn't learn my lines the day before, so I turned up to these auditions and I wasn't off script, you know, and like I wasn't really caring, you know.
But you purposely just know to memorise it, you just couldn't be arsed.
Couldn't be arsed. I was just like I wasn't feeling it anymore, you know. That spark had gone that I had when I was a kid. When I was doing those shows when I was younger, it was different. But when now I've grown up, you know, I've left school. I wasn't really feeling it. But then I got this Star Wars job, because that was I got that because we didn't have to learn any lines for that. It was all facial expressions, you know. So, and they said that I looked great. And
right up your steam.
That put a bit of steam into my cell, you know, because I loved Star Wars growing up, huge Star Wars fan. So to find out that, and it was to coincide with the new Star Wars film coming out at the time, which at the time was the Force Awakens Episode 7. So HP were making this laptop as like a celebration as the new Star Wars film coming out. And then, so I got this part. It's a cool little advert, and I like make R2-D2 and stuff like that. It's something I'll be able to have forever. And it's a cool thing, like when people ask about my acting and stuff like that, you know. I've got
you can just go on YouTube and go, I never heard the fucking HP.
Everyone knows Star Wars, you know.
I know Star Wars.
Done the Star Wars advert. Yeah, exactly. And also I was such a big fan. And then it was cool. I got to meet like David Prowse, who recently died, who was the man that played Darth Vader in the original Star Wars film.
Oh, really? Did he die?
Yeah, he just died. Well, the guy in the suit. The voice is James Earl Jones. The actual Darth Vader, the guy in the suit, is the guy from Bristol, where I'm from, David Prowse. I mean, I got to meet him at the commercial shoot. Like I've got a picture of them, like me and like Darth Vader, like that, you know. So that was a really cool thing. And then after that, like I said, I felt like I was just going through the motions, and I wasn't really happy. I wasn't really enjoying myself. That's when I knew I needed a change, you know, because I got a good bit of money from the advert, because it was. You know, it was a national commercial.
HP, Star Wars.
Yeah, so they've got like, you know, they've got like pay. I think how it works with adverts and stuff like that is they can either pay you out or you can get royalties. You know, so it's different.
So like, you get paid just however long the advert does.
So
you can get a kind of
payment. So rather than you having to like get paid every time that advert plays, like a little percentage every time that advert plays.
Lump sum?
Yeah, they just give you like a lump sum. So I had enough money where I thought to myself, you know, what is this really what I want to be doing with my life? I wasn't really feeling it. I felt like even though I was doing cool stuff like acting, I was like, I feel like I should be more buzzed about doing this stuff, but I'm not really caring, you know. I don't really give a shit. And at this time, I was getting really, like, because I'm living back in Bristol, I'm getting really, really back into wrestling. So I was a fan before, big fan right through an era, a guy called CM Punk. I loved CM Punk and right through, but then he sort of. He faded out, and I sort of stopped. I wasn't interested in it for a bit, and then I got right back into it. I started watching the new brand NXT, which is like their sort of developmental brand. I got right into that, and I'm at home in Bristol, and I'm watching honestly like every bit of wrestling that's on all week. That's all I would do, just sit in my room and watch wrestling. And then I've been thinking about starting training for ages, but I didn't know any training schools or like what like the direction is to do it. And I always thought to myself, you know, I reckon if I did this, I'd be quite good at it, because I thought, you know, I'm athletic. I've gone to theatre school. I've done dance for 5 years. I've done gymnastics. You know, I can do all flips and stuff like that.
You're used to perform
I'm
in front of an
athletic.
audience.
Yeah, I can perform in front of a crowd. You know, I can speak on a microphone. I'm thinking, I've got all the tools to actually maybe make this happen. But you know, it just never came to fruition. And then I went to go and see a show in London, to NXT, WWE's brand, which I was like really a fan of at the time. They announced that they were doing a show called NXT Takeover London. And it was like the first show WWE, the first like pay-per-view WWE had done in the UK since like 2002 or something.
Oh, no,
yeah, so it's been ages. And I bought myself tickets to go and watch this show. So I went to London, like just by myself, and just watch this show, and it was amazing. And I remember when one of the guys coming out, Finn Balor, who's like now one of the biggest stars in WWE, like he's got this dead cool entrance where he comes out with all this like body paint on and stuff like that, these big theatrics. I remember when he came out and the whole place erupted. And that was it. That was like in that moment. I looked at that and I thought, I was like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. Yeah,
that pivotal moment.
I was like, this is. I was like, sitting in that arena. Was like that was the happiest I'd been in years. I just felt.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I felt like that was the happiest I'd been in years. It was just being a part of this crowd, being a part of this atmosphere.
And
like,
the energy and all that.
Yeah, and these people all around you, you're speaking to everyone, and everyone knows each. Like, even though you've never met these people, you'll feel like you're mates because you're all watching. You're all there for the same reason.
Aye.
And I just thought, this is so cool. And I was like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. So when I went back to Bristol, that was it. Like after that, I was like, this is it. I'm doing it. So I went online and I was looking up different schools, different places I could go. And then the only other real place I'd heard of in the UK was ICW. Because I'd seen they did these 2 documentaries on BBC. Insane Fight Club.
That's when I first heard.
Yeah, so I'd seen these and I thought, oh, this looks class, you know. And then I saw Grado's documentary, The British Wrestler, and I saw these and I was like, this place ICW, this looks cool.
Seems a way to go.
Like compared to all the other footage I'd seen of most British wrestling shows, like it all looked like loads of gym halls and stuff like that. It didn't look cool, but then I looked at ICW and I'm like, hey, these guys are wrestling in like nightclubs, and there's like 500 people like stuffed into these nightclubs, like 1,000 people at the ABC and stuff like that. I'm thinking this is big. You know, these are like big shows. These aren't little sort of family shows.
I know it's no wee community centres. It's
yeah.
Which is
no, but he's trying to say it without shitting on it, because obviously it does the family shows and that. But obviously when you watched it, you're like, oh man, this isn't, because I was obviously saying, I didn't ever think of wrestling there. He was going to amount to it, before I actually looked into like the world. It, know what I mean? So obviously before he just thought it was like back in the day when it was like the 2 fake wrestlers, or fake.
Yeah, because I didn't know that wrestling in the UK was like taken off at this point. I thought that's still what it was these back then you like these crappy shows where they're like
WWE, so
like
was any established
shows.
Companies. It was just like some kind of like wee fucking community centre charity show.
And then when I found out about ICW, I found out that actually
something to scam families more than anyone.
I
try to scam a family.
But then I found out that wrestling was actually taken off in the UK, and I found out about all these companies like ICW and Progress and like all these sort of bigger companies. I'm like, these are like high quality shows, you know, they've got good production value, they've got big names on them. But to me, the one I liked was ICW, because I watched those 2 documentaries, Insane Fight Club. I watched Grader's one, British Wrestling. I was like, this place looks class. I was like, this, like the content they're doing for me, I was like, this is awesome. I love an old wrestling company. At this time, because I was like a teenager, I was getting right into this old company called ECW, which is like this Extreme Championship Wrestling.
Is it like a big one? Is it like
a
rival WCW?
In the late 90s.
Did Hulk Hogan no fucking wrestling?
No, it was like RV.
That's WCW.
Yeah, it was like Rob Van Dam and Sabu.
Mate, I would have watched it because I used to be a bit of a wrestling fan when I was younger. I was right into it, man.
It was like the hardcore wrestling, and it was aimed at adults, and that's what ICW.
So it was a bit more brutal.
And that was ICW at the time. I'm a teenager, and I felt like what ICW was doing was catering like towards me. You know, I felt like the product they're putting out is more aimed at like young adults rather than kids.
Audience kind of thing,
And I was like, I knew that I wanted to be a wrestler. I knew that I wanted to start this journey, and I was like, ICW is the place that I want to do it. I was like, this is the place that I want to wrestle, you know, because out of all the places I'd seen in the UK, this was one that caught my eye, and I thought, this is cool.
What attracted you most?
This is fresh, yeah. So then I found out.
So what did you do then? If you obviously stayed in Bristol, not I mean, Bristol's like what, 8 hours drive.
Yeah, about 8 hours drive. Yeah. I'd watch ICW and I'd watch their shows because they had like an on-demand service, and then eventually at the end, I think it was like an advert on one of the shows or something. They announced, ICW's new training school, Glasgow Pro Wrestling Asylum, and it said it's opened in Glasgow and they're taking applicants now. And I was like, and they're like, for the future stars of ICW or something like that. And I was like,
it's like I was fucking speaking to you.
Yeah. I'm thinking this is like NXT but for ICW, and I'm thinking this is class. So yeah, I looked it up and I sort of contacted them about it, and yeah, I put my name down and I applied for this. So originally it was like a 6-week induction course, and if you get through this 6 weeks, they say to you, cool, like you can start training properly, or they might say to you, we don't think you're suitable for training.
Yeah.
So
it's like an induction process.
Yeah, I told my mum, like, I think 3 weeks before or something, I said to Mum, I was like, listen, I'm going to move to Glasgow in 3 weeks and be a wrestler. And she's like, oh, okay. She knew that I've been mentioning it to her for a few months now that that's what I wanted to do, but I hadn't made anything of it. And then, but then eventually, I said to her I was going to do it. But my mum's my biggest fan, my biggest supporter, so she just wanted me to be happy. And obviously, she knew that I wasn't happy at that point in my life.
Nothing you're used to anyway, man. You're up down to London off of your younger years.
Yeah, it's the same.
You were a stranger to kind of move.
So my mum thought if this is something, she could see that it was something I wanted to do and something that I was passionate about. So she wanted me to do it, and she completely supported it. She even drove me up here, like when...
Oh, did she up, yeah?
Yeah, when I moved up here, like I'd never been to Glasgow before in my life. I'd done shows in Edinburgh and shows in Aberdeen, but I'd never gone to Glasgow. My mum literally, I found a flat to stay at with like some students. It was in Kelvinbridge.
Nah, it's actually not bad.
Yeah, it was nice. Yeah, it was nice. But luckily, it was lucky that I didn't know anything about the areas in Glasgow, so it could have been. It could have been Castlemilk.
Could have been Coatbridge.
Yeah, but I didn't know. I just picked one, and luckily it was Kelvinbridge, and it was a nice area. And I stayed with some like students who had like one of the people in the flat was like staying away for a semester abroad, so I was just there for like 3 months. And it was good. It was nice. I got to sort of know Glasgow a bit more and find out what the better areas after that. But yeah, like I didn't even know if I was going to get through this induction course, So
was this just to get up and do the induction course?
Yeah, but no,
so just a bit of a risk you took at the time.
No, I was pretty confident. I was pretty confident I'd be able to get through this, because like I said, I was athletic. I had skills in acting, so I thought...
You probably had a better CV than a lot of people that started.
Yeah,
I mean.
And also the fact that I'd moved here from Bristol is, plays well in your favour,
That's what I was going to ask. So how was your reception up here, obviously, like, with the English accent and that kind of thing? Did you feel, when you were starting the school, did anybody take notice of it then to say it? How was it feel? Did you feel welcomed? Or did you get a bit of...
Yeah, I took a slaughter, man.
Oh, really?
No, it wasn't bad.
Name and shame them.
People would ban me up. It was because I especially back then, I was such like I was so like over the top. I was this wee 18-year-old guy. I'm 120 pounds, like everything's...
I can remember you were like that, man. You had the long hair.
Everything's sunshine and rainbows, I'm just this little positive guy. So I think sometimes I can...
I know, you came to the worst place for fucking positivity, man. Every cunt's pure negative and fucking...
Because I had this English accent, but but no, like people, I got along, I made friends and stuff like that, and it didn't, it never bothered me, because in my head, like I was always thinking, I'm here for one reason, and that's to be a professional wrestler, so I didn't really care.
So you had the kind of tunnel vision.
Yeah, I think so. I think it played well in my favour, to be honest. The fact that I moved up here, because say you're a coach at a school or whatever, and you're thinking who's maybe going to get the next opportunity. You think, well, obviously if this guy's moved up here from Bristol, he's obviously dedicated. So I think that gave me a little edge sometimes, and I was happy.
Because that's how I actually ended up with Pally. When I heard his wee stupid voice, and I was like, what's the script? Because he was a wee boy and all.
I bet you if we heard that voice, I'm going to slaughter this cunt.
No, even I was like, no, listen, let us fucking talk and I'll tell you. So obviously I heard his wee stupid voice, and I was like, what's the script, man? Because he was only about 18. I was like, what's the deal? Not mean, like your parents moved up here, not mean just your parents they moved up here. And he's like, no, mate, I moved up here myself to be a wrestler. And I was like, you know what, fuck it, wee man, I was like, I don't care, you might be the most annoying wee guy I've ever met in my life, but you're with me, you know what I mean, if you're moving all the way up to Glasgow, got to be here, not mean, do this, man, fuck it, I'll look after you, man, fuck it, more.
You must have been bad if you told you annoying fuck.
But that's what I say, it turned out it was actually alright, you know what I mean,
and then we just sort of, me and Davey came from best mates from there, so we just sort of, a couple months after I moved up here, so we were just sort of together all the time. It was good. It was good for my understanding of the Scottish language as well, because I just moved up here, and my first friend is Davey, so it's like if you can understand Davey, you can understand anyone.
Defo was, man. It was like a crash course in fucking Glaswegian tongue in it, man.
Yeah. But no, like an odd friendship, but we just sort of both had the same mindset of wrestling. We both really wanted to do this, so we sort of just okay, mates from there.
But the two of you doing the training together.
Well, no, so I'd done my induction. So the first ICW he went and watched was my.
Your debut, yeah.
And that, so he'd seen that.
Was this when you became pals at this point?
Because I hadn't been pals with him.
I didn't know at this point.
When I told him, and he's like, I've seen your match. He was cool. He was actually quite buzzing when he said it's not. And I'm like, what the fuck, man? I'm just the same as you, mate. You've got the same t-shirt on as me. Fuck, trainees. He's obviously like, no, I was like, and obviously I heard the story. I was like, you know what? Obviously you've came up here, done all that. I'll look after you, whatever. Made that. But then obviously, so he's told me about. He's like, you're wrestling. I seen your match and all that. I loved it. And I was like, right, this wee guy just tried to bottle me up. Obviously, I was like, this is why he's coming up to me. Obviously, I'm saying I'll look after him, but he's obviously coming up to me like, he's the one in the school that's obviously got the first big match in ICW. I'm coming to take his place. But aye, so it was good.
So how was it for them? So this your induction, obviously, you've met. How did it go for there?
Yeah, so I got through that.
How did you find like doing the wrestling? Did you take like a duck to water? Was it one of ones? Did you feel like you?
No, like bits of it I did. Like I said, athletically I could do I could do some good stuff. Like I was already like a pretty agile guy, you know. But like the bumps. So when you're taking in wrestling, it's all about taking slams, taking bumps.
Taking a down, basically.
Yeah,
how well you can take a down.
That was a wake up call, you know, because
really?
You never take. Obviously, you watch it on TV and you think, oh, it can't be that bad, you know.
I think it springs into the fucking mat or some shit like
when
that.
you turn up and you take your first bump, which is when you stand up and you fall back and you slap your hands on the mat and on your back. And I remember the first one
Probably
I took.
the first time somebody will hit you before.
Yeah. First one I took these, I'm thinking, oh, this is gonna be easy, man. I took it, I was like.
Fucking knock you in right out.
Oh my god, my head was ringing like I fucking thought I had a concussion or something. Like after the first session when we were doing all these bumps, I'm thinking maybe this isn't for me, you know.
I'll come back to Bristol.
but then what happens is it's just your body gets used to it. You keep doing it more, and your
it's
body.
It's like Thai box. Now the Thai boxers kick the trees.
Yeah.
You just condition your body.
You've just got to be strong enough to sort of get through those first few weeks.
Whereas when
you come to, and then you know your body gets when you start doing
used
regularly.
To whiplash.
Yeah, your body gets used to all of it, and you
whiplash for a claim.
But no, so I got through that, and then I was training. Once you get through the induction, at the time you could train like 4 times a week, so I was training like all the time, just trying to get better, and then eventually after like 6 months or like 5 months, I got an opportunity on one of the training school. GPWA runs their own shows, so I got like the opportunity on one of their shows that they were running purely by chance. One of the other lads was supposed to be on it. But he had like a wife and kid and stuff, and he had something else, so he had to cancel sort of like last minute.
Oh, so it was the last minute.
Yeah, so they asked me like 2 days before or something, like, can you do it? And I was like, geez, yeah, okay. But I wasn't really ready for it at the time.
Did you feel nervous at all?
Yeah.
Did you feel nervous? So see, compared to like obviously you done all your theatre and all that shit. Was it different? That kind of feeling.
I performed in theatres in front of like. When I did the Sound of Music for the second time, I did it in Malaysia.
Oh really?
Yeah. So I went when I was like 13. I went over to Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur, for 10 days to do Sound of Music over there. That was cool, and we did it at this like exhibition centre, and there was like 3,500 seats or something, man. This place was place was huge, like sold out. It was crazy, you know. So I'd perform in a big place like this, and here I am at this like cold warehouse in Glasgow, Townhead. There's maybe 70 people out there, you know, and I'm backstage. I'm
fucking shaking yourself.
I was so nervous. One of the most nervous I've ever been, you know. But I never got that when I was performing for like 3,000, 4,000 people at these massive theatres. But I'm back.
Course you never did.
Different, but can't break your neck.
That's what I was about to say. You're not getting let up in front of these 3,000 people.
The worst bit was my first match. You know, I built myself up this much, and I got so nervous about it that my big spot in the match was like at the end. I was gonna like jump off the second rope and like give him like this crossbody. It's like this pin, 1, 2. And what's happened is I've gone to jump off the second rope, and my foot slipped.
Oh,
fuck off! Yeah. My first match, and I've face planted it right.
Oh, did the audience do?
Yeah, it's fine, you know.
Did they laugh, or did they think it was part of it?
No, I think they just thought it was part of it.
Oh, they just as well done. Must be it's like they see you fuck up, man.
Because I'm like 18, I'm still a wee guy, you know. I come out, I'm pure gutted. I'm like outside crying and that, like, oh, they're never gonna put me in another match again and all that, you know. But they didn't care. They thought it was funny. You know?
Oh, did they?
And then it went well from there. I kept on doing the shows for GPWA, like all their sort of in-house shows, like the training shows. And then eventually I got to do some stuff in ICW, like little sort of bit parts, like not like wrestling properly.
Not a full blown match, but like maybe we can side
yeah,
parts.
So yeah, like I was like just a guy that would get beaten up, you know, by like one of the big guys or something, like hit little bits and bobs here and there. And then I got the opportunity to go on one of the ICW tours because someone dropped out last minute and they asked, if you can do it, and like a couple of the boys said, this guy Arthur's a good lad, you know, you should see if he can do it. So I went on this and I had like a little match on that, just like what we call a squash match, which is when it's a smaller guy just getting battered by, you know, a big guy to make them.
Who's the big guy at battle?
So it was a guy, he's in NXT UK now, called Rampage Brown.
Oh, really?
He's known as he's one of the best wrestlers in the UK. Like he's been around for like 20 years or something, you know, and he's at the top level of British wrestling. And I had this sort of match against him, but you know, basically what it was, him and his tag team partner Ashton Smith, they basically come out and destroy you for a minute,
like a couch.
Hit all the best moves, hit a finisher, 1, 2, 3, look how big and strong. And and then so I done that.
So was that your ICW debut?
Yeah, so that was my
so
that was technically my first match.
You
it was great, because I didn't care about, because that's what happens in the business. You work your way up until you get these big matches. So to me, I'm just thinking, great, I've got a match. Yeah, this is it. I've got my match. I'm on a tour. I don't care what I'm doing in this match. Doesn't matter. I've got a match. I moved up here to wrestle for ICW, and now I've got a match on ICW. So I was buzzing, and we were on tour as well. So. This show was in Leeds, but we'd also done like Liverpool the night before, and then Manchester or something. I can't remember, but yeah, it's good fun doing this tour, like with all your mates and stuff like that. So it was great, and I didn't care what I was doing in the match. You could have told me that I'm going to go out there and just lie down and take the pin, like.
At least I'm getting the match. I'm getting the exposure.
I'm doing this match. That was my goal, was to wrestle for ICW, and now I'm doing it. So that was great. That was the first time I wrestled for them. I did a couple more matches like that. Just me getting leathered by big guys. And then the next thing I did was with Davie. It was the big scheme wedding, which was when Davie got married to Session with Martina.
And get his cunt punched
and
in.
I was by Bram, this big American wrestler. He'd done him in. So what it was I was the vicar of his wedding. So I was like all dressed up with like the white collar and stuff like that, and I was the officiator of this big wrestling wedding. It was this big city.
That's the first time you're kind of part of like a storyline.
Yeah, this was good fun. It's like the first time I was like speaking as well. Like I remember I was like speaking on the microphone and stuff, and it was a good laugh. And then they did the match. There was some funny bits, like Bram picked me up and like threw me into the crowd and stuff. And
I remember seeing it, man.
Yeah, because
flung it off,
and because he was like supposed to be this horrible, like, evil guy as well.
Evil.
I had this like bottle of holy water with like a cross on it, and I like threw it on him and stuff like that. It was crazy. That was great fun. And then after that was when I sort of got my main gig, and that was when I became the assistant to this big wrestler called Joe Hendry, who was like one of the top stars in ICW.
Is this a Joe Hendry internship?
Yeah. So this once I did all those like little bit parts, which I do here and there, like not really wrestling. I wasn't doing anything, but it was like if they were doing something on the show and they needed someone for something, they'd come and say to me.
50 was part of it, remember? Obviously,
job centre guy.
He done the promo.
Yeah, you done the job centre stuff, and it was just like whenever there was little bits or something that they needed someone for, they'd say, "Oh, you can do that." So I was just taking whatever I could. And then
there was a lot more opportunities.
I guess I must have impressed someone, and they must have thought I was doing well. So I got given this shot with Joe Hendry, where I was like his intern. So I was like, his like assistant. And Joe Hendry was one of the biggest stars in ICW. Like he was wrestling on every show, and I was like with him now, which means I was.
So you were getting exposure.
Yeah. So I was with him every one of these matches. And it was great because I was still learning how to wrestle at this point, I'm still young. I'm still like 19 when I first started with him. I'm still tiny. Still learning how to wrestle. And I'm wrestling on these GPWA shows, getting better. But I'm not really ready to start wrestling on ICW shows yet, which is why I've been given this role where I'm like not really wrestling.
Yeah, you're not right.
But because
storyline, but you're still playing a wee active role.
And that's when I started. So it was great because I could watch Joe, and I was ringside for all of his matches. So I'm watching him, I'm learning from him, I'm picking up all this stuff.
So it's almost like an apprenticeship.
Apprenticeship
wrestling.
But in real life too, because I'm watching him and I'm picking up all this stuff and I'm trying to apply this to myself, so that when the time comes for them, I get the call up and they say, right, you're going to be like a wrestler now. Then I'm ready for it. I wanted to be as ready as I could, so I kept smashing it in the gym, kept watching all of his matches and working on my training. So I knew that when the opportunity comes, I'm gonna be ready for it. It was great for me because I was confident on like the microphone and like with the acting side of things. Me and Joe did like all these like backstage promos and stuff, and these promos in the ring, and that was where I really started to what we call in wrestling when you get over. Which is, when you start to get popular, when the fans start to come behind you, like this guy's getting over.
So the fans can get to know you and kind of like,
me and Joe were bad guys, but basically I started doing all these funny skits with Joe, and all this funny stuff, and everyone started cheering for me, even though I was technically a bad guy. Right. But because like Joe was like, he was always like mean to me. It was like this anger where he had like bully me, so like the fans, they would start sympathising with me, and I was doing all this funny stuff, like these funny skits. So eventually the people started cheering me, but Joe at the time was still this the big bad guy, and he was doing all this stuff, and it was great to just learn from him. And then Joe got this big role, not a big role. He accepted into the Commonwealth Games.
Qualified for them.
You qualify for the Commonwealth Games because Joe's like a legitimate amateur wrestler as well. He does like amateur wrestling and judo and stuff. He did as well. So he's like a combat athlete.
He was a mate. Just as a side note, because he's big into the MMA. He was a mate first. Robert Whittaker was a mate to be going into the Commonwealth Games to wrestle for the. Well, so obviously Joe started doing
they were having like an online feud in that,
and then because he's a professional MMA athlete, Robert Whittaker had to pull out, and then Joe got drew with the Australian guy that would have been Robert Whittaker if he'd ever get pulled out. So that actually been they two versing each other.
Fuck's sake, man, that's been just a fucking story.
I know. Yeah, so Joe got he was in the Commonwealth Games doing his wrestling, so he was over in Australia for I think a couple of months or something. Yeah, exactly. You know, so now I'm in this awkward situation where the only reason I've been on the ICW shows is because I'm with Joe.
Right.
So every week I'm on there with
Joe. It was kind of like fucking in jeopardy for you.
So now I'm thinking to myself and thinking, now Joe's in Australia. What am I going to do? Hopefully I can still be in these shows.
Lucky it was the feud was against a guy that was wanting would have had to keep himself in. Because it wasn't. If it was just Joe versus some random, they'd probably just told the other person to keep yourself away for a bit because it was somebody that's have to would want to keep the feud going.
Yeah, so because Joe was already in a feud with someone at this point when he went over to
They didn't want to just like stop that
storyline.
They didn't want to stop it. They had a kind of strong storyline. They just didn't want to sabotage
What they did is they like kept it going, but with me. So like I sort of kept the story going. Like me and him had we had this joke match, and then eventually this is when I really sort of knew that what I was doing in ICW, like people were noticing and people were like I was getting popular, was when I did this segment which I came up with. So basically we did me and Joe did this show in Edinburgh. We did a show in Edinburgh and it was like a spoken word show, almost like a sort of live podcast sort of thing. And on the show as a laugh, I played the ukulele, so as a laugh I made up this song because Joe was about to go to Australia. I made up this song on the ukulele about Joe going to Australia and winning the Commonwealth Games. I did it to the tune of, I did the lyrics myself, but I just did the tune of, do you remember when Conor McGregor was going to fight Floyd Mayweather?
Aye.
And that lad on his ukulele, and he sang a song about
Conor McGregor.
And there's a fighter better, and he's gonna knock out Floyd
Mayweather. Aye, mate, that was a fucking
so like, what I did is I did that tune on my ukulele, but I just changed all the words, so it was about Joe Hendry winning the Commonwealth Games. And someone filmed it and put it up, and everyone liked it. And then basically the guy that Joe was feuding with.
Who was the guy he was feuding with?
A guy called Chris Renfrew. So we're feuding with him, and Joe's gone into Australia, but I think someone backstage, I don't know if it was him or maybe Dallas or Scott or someone has seen the clip of me singing on the ukulele, singing this Joe Hendry song. So even though it was the first show since Joe went to Australia, and originally they said to me, "Sorry, mate, nothing for you at the moment. Obviously Joe's in Australia, so like we've not really got a spot for the show."
Looking promising.
Yeah, so I was thinking, that's okay. But at the time, I was like, it is what it is. I've been on like every show for like over a year, so I was doing well. I was thinking they're not going to forget about me if I'm not on the show.
It's one of the ones that just think, like, I've still got a lot more to do to kind of get into the.
But then when someone backstage seen this video of me singing on the ukulele, so they were like, "Oh, we should get him to do that on the ICW show." So then, even when I wasn't supposed to be in the show, they came up to me and they were like, "Hey, I know you said you weren't going to be on it, but do you mind singing that song like on the show?" And I was like, "Fucking yeah!" So we did this awesome segment, and it was great because they, especially at this point in my career, they gave me a lot of freedom. They didn't really know what I was going to do. They said to me, they're like, "So what do you want in the ring?" I was like, "Oh, just give me a chair in the ring and give me a microphone like this." So I'm sitting on the chair, the microphone's coming like this. And at the time, there's this guy in WWE called Elias,
right.
And his gimmick is that he comes out with a guitar over his back, and he'll like sing songs, and he'd dress a certain way. So at the time, he'd like black jeans and like a black vest and like a scarf and stuff, and the long brown hair. And I looked like I had the long brown hair, so I just decided to make it into a parody of this Elias guy. So I came out with like the ukulele over my shoulder, and I had like the black vest and the black jeans on. And yeah, but ICW, they sort of gave me the freedom to just sort of do what I wanted with this segment. It was great, they didn't really know what I was going to do. They just knew that I was going to sing this song, and luckily it went down well. I came out as this guy dressed as Elias, and his thing in WWE was people would say "walk with Elias."
Right.
So that was his thing, and I came out through the curtain. I've got the ukulele over my shoulder, and straight away the crowd are going, "Walk with Leyton." It was cool.
So were you Leyton Buzzard at this point?
Leyton Buzzard, yeah.
So when did that name come about? What gave you the kind of inspiration to get that name?
Oh, that was I just sort of got given it by one of my coaches. Originally, I was just going to have it for one match.
Well, Jack Jester was definitely a Bama.
Yeah, it was probably a Bama.
That's what made the most great nickname start with.
Yeah. But I was only going to have it for one match, but then I thought, you know what, it's something different, so I kept it. But what was I saying?
Sorry, we're back to when you played the ukulele and they were shouting. What with Leyton.
Yeah. So I come out and it's going exactly how I wanted it to. They can see that I'm doing a parody of this guy Elias. They're doing the Elias chant, but with my name instead. And then it gets to the time where I actually sing the song. In my head, I was nervous backstage because like the ICW fans are known for being like.
Vicious.
Yeah, ruthless.
They're vicious. I know that.
It's not like I do.
Turncoat bastards.
It's not like I do anything anymore.
They're turncoat rat bastards. I've watched it. You've turned in the account in 2 seconds.
Yeah, you're getting booed out. If they don't like you, you're getting booed out.
It's a snake pit. Even if they like you and you fuck up, you're getting booed, man.
It's a snake pit, sink or swim,
that's it, mate.
And in my head, I'm thinking, what if I start playing this song and just no one listens? And everyone, because at the time I was a bad guy, so there are people that don't like me.
It was a heavy bit of
so I'm thinking, I'm going to start playing the ukulele and everyone's going to go, whoa, shut up, and I'm not going to be able to play the song. But luckily when I came out dressed as Elias, I think because I wasn't with Joe, people cheered me more because it was him that they didn't like, but they liked me.
Aye.
So people were cheering for me, and then eventually when I sung the song, I'm thinking, oh God, no one's going to listen to this. As soon as I started playing the ukulele, you hear someone in the crowd go, shh. And the whole it was sold out that night. 400 people stuffed into the garage.
Was this a garage?
Yeah, and it was like stuffed.
Packed like fucking tin of sardines.
Yeah, literally. Everyone, it was before the chairs, so everyone's standing up like this, smashed in. And I literally just heard one.
Social distancing.
Yeah, exactly.
The good old days, fuck's sake.
That'd be a nightmare to me. But yeah, it's like you just hear someone in the crowd go shh, and literally the whole garage went quiet. Like you could hear a pin drop as I'm playing the ukulele. And now.
You shake yourself.
Yeah. But I done the song, went down great. I got a massive pop at the end. The song, everyone was loving it, and I think that was when I really started to take off. That was when I could tell. I was like, right, I'm doing something here that people are caring about.
People are into it.
Yeah, people are into it, and that was when I proved myself as well that I wasn't just sort of popular because I was with Joe. I'd done this by myself.
Right.
I didn't do this with Joe.
So it's one of the ones. It was at that point you were kind of just thrust into the
spotlight. I was given the opportunity to go out there and do something as a solo performer, as myself, to see how the crowd react to it. And luckily the crowd reacted amazing.
It's crazy, man. All that wrestling training, all the rest of doing that, all the years of grafting, and then the time when you make your transition to be a solo performer. Yeah. It's not a wrestling match.
No, it's me singing on the ukulele. That was really when it took off.
It was tailor-made for you, know what I mean?
It was me singing on the ukulele, this little song I made up, and then from there I think they trusted me more because they knew that I could
act under pressure.
Yeah, act under pressure and do these situations and get good reaction from the crowd. So Joe came back from Australia. We finished a feud with this guy, and we carried on going. We were just, more and more matches. Me and Joe were doing good together. But by this point, I started to put on a bit of size, so I'm training more at the gym. I'm really focusing on getting like a good look. Dyed my hair blonde. So I was trying to come up with this new character and look like a sort of stereotypical wrestler with the tan and the blonde hair.
Chris Jericho kind of looking guy.
Yeah, sort of the golden age of hair and tan. It's my favourite type of wrestling.
Is it fake
just
tan?
Big jack guys who are tanned as hell and got long blonde hair. So whilst I'm doing this thing with Joe, I'm really working on my body, and I'm working on my wrestling, and this is when I started sort of getting more matches. Like I started to come more, rather than being Joe's like intern assistant, I start becoming more of like his
protege kind of thing.
Exactly.
So
now, rather than just doing the speaking stuff, me and him are wrestling matches together.
Oh, right.
And then what happens is Davie and another boy called Kez Evans, they get involved. Like Mark Dallas, he turned into a bad guy and basically said that Joe Hendry is like his new guy, it's his new face of ICW. So then because I was with Joe, I was in it as well, and then he got in Davie and Kez, and we were like this faction. We were called the Dallas Mavericks.
Oh, yeah.
So we were like this wrestling faction, and so now I'm sort of transitioning from speaking part assistant to actual wrestler.
Actually involved in it.
Yeah, and we had a good run as this faction. It was good fun. We were doing all these like 8-man tag matches and stuff. It was crazy. It was good. But then what happened was it was coming to this point where like me and Joe were like sort of, there was friction between us, and Joe was getting more. I'd keep losing matches.
Was this just part of the storyline?
Yeah. So I'd lose matches, and Joe would be really angry at me, and he'd blame it all. Even though there was like Davie and Kez in the group as well, like Joe would always blame it on me. So every time we'd lose a match, Joe's blaming everything on me, and the friction is getting more and more into.
It's building up.
People can tell it's come to a breaking point when me and Joe, because we've been together 2 years at this point. Me and Joe, people know that me and Joe are gonna break. Because the crowd are booing Joe every week. Joe's getting more and more boos, and I'm getting more and more cheers.
He's turning on you, kind of thing. So it's kind of like they're getting on your side.
Joe will walk out the curtain, everyone goes boo. I'll walk out the curtain behind him. So it's getting to this breaking point, and then it did. Eventually, I had this match. I lost the match, Joe came out and said, "That's it," and he like battered me. You know, he just chucked me about the ring and like choked me out and stuff like that. So you're out the group. And then this was really the start of mine and Joe's big feud. So this was so now we've gone from being partners and me being his intern to now we're, you know, bitter rivals. And you know, at this point, I'm like I said, I've got the long blonde hair. I'm looking better physically, you know. So you know,
you're starting to take shape, you're a wrestler.
Yeah, exactly. And that when this happened and this whole feud kicked off, this was when it really started. And me and Joe had this feud where I came back and screwed him over, and then we sort of back and forth on the microphone, and then ended up having this big match, this blow-off match, and the stipulation was that if I win the match, Joe Hendry would leave ICW. Obviously no one's thinking I'm going to win, but I do it. So I have this match at Shug's house party, which is one of their biggest shows of the year. It's like their big one in the summer. It was at the O2 Academy, wasn't it? Yeah, O2 Academy. You know, big show. My mum and my auntie are up to watch.
Did they come up for Bristol then to see you?
Yeah, they came up to watch.
How was it? How did they feel actually seeing you now living your dream kind of thing?
Yeah, like, I was loving it. My mum had only seen me wrestle once before, and that was like when I first started. So I was like tiny, and like it was like a little match in one of the, you know, in the training school, you know, so it wasn't like a proper. Whereas now she's watching me like in one of the main matches of the show, like a featured match.
She's dropped you off in Glasgow, you're just a skinny English boy now, you're actually fucking
in front of, you know, 1,000 people, and she's like watching me as one of the feature performers of the show, so that was cool. So
how long had you been at it? See, since you came to Glasgow then went to this point, how long had you been doing the wrestling for?
So I moved up to Glasgow in April 2016, and this would be summer 2019.
So like just about 3 years really?
Yeah, so I moved up here. I had about a year of just training and doing shows on the Asylum shows. Then I got with Joe, and then we were together for like 2 years. And then when we broke up in 2019, this was when we had our big feud over the summer of 2019. Mm-hmm. So we wrestled each other at this Shug's house party. Ended up having this really the fans were really happy with it. You know, a lot of people were saying, you know, really enjoyed the match. It meant a lot to us because, you know, this was like a 2-year storyline, and people felt that it was like a satisfying end. I ended up beating Joe. You know, I got the big clean victory. 1, 2, 3. I hit my finish, the 450 splash. Got the finish. Joe's leaving ICW, and he actually was as well, because he got signed by one of the big companies in America, like one of the major companies called Ring of Honor.
Oh right.
Joe just got signed by them, so he was leaving ICW.
It was kind of pattern.
Yeah, but no one knew at this point. So it only came.
But any of the fans knew?
No one knew at this point. It was a few days after we had the match that it came out that Joe was, you know, signed for this big company. So it was cool because right before Joe left as well, he sort of put me over in the ring and said, you know, thanks, and we sort of had a hug in the ring and stuff, and he said, you know, everyone watch out, this guy's the future, and it was cool. The next night I ended up wrestling James Storm, who's like a former TNA World Heavyweight Champion.
Oh really, is he?
Yeah, so I ended up wrestling him the next night, and then I beat him as well. So I had this amazing weekend. And then from like now after then it was like all guns blazing. I'm not with Joe anymore. I'm like a wrestler by myself, and I've sort of got this new chapter in my wrestling career, because this was the first time I've sort of been by myself. Before it was always Joe Hendry and Leyton Buzzard, whereas now it's just me.
Leyton Buzzard.
Yeah, it's just me now. Then they give me the ball, I've got to run with it. And yeah, and luckily I did. I carried on having matches, and fans kept saying that they were enjoying the matches. You know, I was getting positive feedback. People were enjoying what I'm doing in the ring, on the microphone. I was still getting big reactions.
So it's just moving from strength to strength.
Yeah. So after that, it was just, you know, just kept progressing. You know, I was so driven, and I knew that what I wanted to do, and I knew how I thought I could do it. I just kept smashing it in the gym. I just kept smashing it at training, just doing everything I can to be the best.
Better yourself.
Yeah, be the best wrestler I can be. Because obviously my goal when I moved up here was to win the ICW 0G Championship, which is their sort of. So you got the ICW World Heavyweight Championship,
right,
and you got the ICW 0G Championship, which is sort of for the sort of high flyers and stuff like that.
Oh,
because that's what I did. Like I'll do all the flips and stuff.
So you're
like
kind of acrobatic, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. You know, so and that was what I wanted to do, was win the 0G title. And after I broke up with Joe and we had the feud, I kept doing what I was doing, kept having matches, and eventually that led to a match for my first match for the 0G Championship, and it was at this show called Gonzo, and it was like the first one of these shows that they did in the Asylum, so it was a really cool looking show, and it was the main event, me versus Liam Thompson for the ICW 0G Championship, but I didn't win it. We had this great match, we wrestled for like 30 minutes, it was crazy, but I didn't win the title that night. But then I won the title like a month later.
Oh, so did you eventually end up winning it then?
Yes, I won it a month later, completely expected, out of the blue. So basically, Liam Thompson.
Completely unexpected, you mean?
He did, yeah.
Right,
So on this show we did, I wrestled at the start of the show, and the stipulation was I had this match, and if I won this match, I would get another shot at the championship. So I won this match, I got my shot, which is going to be at this pay-per-view called the Square Go. But Liam Thompson was also in that show, and at the end of it, he was going to come out and do an open challenge where he was going to say anyone can come out and wrestle me for the Zero G Championship. So everyone's thinking, I wonder who it's going to be. Obviously, no one's thinking it's going to be me because I've already won a match earlier on the night, so I've already got my shot. I don't need to do the open challenge. But then I come out and I say, no, there's going to be no open challenge. If anyone's winning that championship off you, it's going to be me. So we had this unexpected match, and then I won it in the garage. It was crazy. It was the last show of the year. No one thought I was going to win it, and I did. We had this match again. Me and Liam worked so well together. Liam Thompson, we've got such good what we call chemistry in the ring. Yeah, we've got such good chemistry in the ring. Every time we have a match, it just feels, we're both so into it. And
he's both just on the same level.
Yeah, we just bounce off each other, and it's always such a good time, and the crowd always enjoy it. So we had this match, and this time it was like full circle because we had the match before, and I tried everything I could, but he beat me still. But now I've come back, I'm bigger, I'm faster, I'm stronger, and now that's when I get the big win. Last show of the year, so I got to finish the year as ICW Zero G champion.
How was that? How was that feeling?
That was cool, that was, especially because that was my goal. I thought after the Joe thing, hopefully maybe like a year down the line, maybe I'll get it.
Get another chance,
but
maybe.
Like a few months later, and I win it, and I got to finish the year as champion, so that was a really cool moment, because it was such a good year for me, and to have it finish in such,
just a cherry in the cake.
Yeah, it really was, and then obviously 2020 was the next year. And so
for fuck's sake! It's probably a good thing because you've ended up, you finished in a high. Then obviously 2020's been shite, but you've still got that high. It's no as if imagine if you lost. He
lost the belt the month before the pandemic.
Liam Thompson won it back.
Sick bastards.
No, so Liam Thompson. I lost it at the Square Go.
How long did you have it for? In a month?
Yeah, about a month. So me and Liam Thompson had a match for it at the Square Go. And he won it back off me, and then obviously we were going to have another match down the line. But then boom, lockdown.
So he's got that belt and he's sussing now.
He's had it for over a year now.
He's injured and on, wasn't
he? Tiny Sus?
No, I don't think he's injured. But
he's a dress man, and some can make Tiny Sus.
But then, obviously it is. No, it is what it is. We were going to have another match for it later on down the line, but then lockdown happened, so all the sort of plans for the future. Everything was like put on hold.
Flung into
obviously there was a story, and it was going to pan out. Like, the Square Go wasn't the end of it. It was
just unfortunate because I fucking.
It was another chapter in this story that me and Liam were telling, but unfortunately now lockdown happened. It could have been either of us. It could have happened the month before.
It could have been live for all it is. Know what I mean?
Exactly. But it was just like that wasn't the end of the story, but because of lockdown, it happened that. It was just sort of he got the championship, and then everything went into lockdown. We didn't get to wrestle for 8 months or something. There was no wrestling at all, and then we found out that ICW were going to be doing these closed door, so like in a controlled environment, like with all the protocols and that, these like closed door tapings, like in a studio setting. So what they've done is like turned the asylum. They've set it all up in there like a studio. And we do these shows where you do it in like blocks. So because of obviously COVID protocols and stuff like that, you could only come in and like blocks of 4.
So there's so many people.
There's not like a wrestling show when you've got 50 people backstage ready to be on the show. You've got the 4.
Certain times you need to
come
in
the
and
4 people who come in to do their matches, and it's like all the production crew are up there, so there's like no contact with them or anything. You come in, you do your matches in your time slot. And then you go, and then everything's cleaned, everything's disinfected. They clean the ring and all that, and then whenever that's done, the next group will come in. Yeah, because obviously you can't have this many people.
Have too many people.
Because it's under the same jurisdiction. I think it's like TV and film, because it's live entertainment, and it's now they've got this deal where ICW is now broadcast on the WWE Network every week, which is their streaming service, like sort of.
Netflix?
Yeah, Netflix for wrestling, yeah.
It shows you a different kind of wrestling organisation.
And ICW's now like on that every week, and so they've been doing all these. So all the tapings we did, they've been going up on the WWE Network every week. Yeah.
So how does it feel, see wrestling in that kind of environment compared to what you're used to before? So obviously all you're used to before is like places it's packed out with people, or everything normal. Then coming in having 8 month off before it. How was the 8 month off? Did you feel it was avoiding your life a bit? Or?
Yeah, I had some rough times. Yeah, when lockdown happened, just at the start of lockdown, so what was lockdown? March. March 2020. I was supposed to be going to America in April. So literally the month after lockdown, to go and watch WrestleMania. Me and a few of my mates had like tickets booked. We had this villa like booked over there, and we were all staying. Yeah, we were staying over there. I was over there for like a week. I was gonna go. We were gonna watch WrestleMania, a bunch of other shows. I had a booking over there as well. So like I was gonna be wrestling.
Oh,
in America.
really?
Yeah.
Sake, man.
And then like I was gonna be doing loads. I was gonna go. I'd never been to America before in my life. And I was going to go and like go to the Space Center and stuff, and like, go and watch a hockey game.
Your full week planned it.
Yeah, and then obviously it all got cancelled. Couldn't go.
Fuck.
Like, I was supposed to wrestle in like 4 different countries last year, and obviously
what countries?
I think I was supposed to wrestle in like Austria, Italy, and then America.
Israel.
I can't remember. I got some
quite big countries in.
So I was going to wrestle in these countries, and then obviously. You know, hopefully when we get to the future, I'll still be able to, you know.
That's it. I see with the fact that you've got live, you've got your tapings that's going on the WWE network. Obviously, that's making made available to all the kind of WWE audience. So right now, it might work in your favour. Not, I mean, by the time you come back, you might already have a bit of a fall in America. Maybe, know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, yeah. But I mean, so after that, everything got cancelled. You know, I was super depressed at the start of lockdown, because it's like my whole world was going. I had such a good 2019. Everything felt like in my wrestling, everything was just on the up. It just felt like that was the only way it was up. Everything I was doing, it was like topping the last thing I did, you know. I was just doing more and more and more. Something, and it's just, you know, it's just going to keep going up. And then to go from doing this, I'm wrestling every weekend, 2-3 times every weekend, you know, like I'm doing a lot of shows. To go from all of that to nothing.
Fucking crash.
Sitting in your house. Oh, cool. Even my work, so my actual work as well, I do shifts with Glasgow City Council, but I was doing like the catering, so like bar staff, but like concert halls and stuff around Glasgow. So I do bar staff at like the Royal Concert Hall and City Halls and stuff like that. It's good fun. You get to watch gigs. You just your mates you work with, and you serve drinks and stuff like that. You know, it's a really good job.
And the concert hall and all the audience and that, it's no for imagine like serving fucking rounds and like
it's not like that. Yeah,
fucking vital spot or something. Governor, know what I mean? It's a bit
great
different
for wrestling as well, because it was 0 hours, so like I just picked my own shifts. So
it worked in your favour.
It was great, but obviously that was large crowds. That all got shut down as well. I was on like furlough for like 8 months, just sitting in my house doing absolutely nothing and no wrestling. I started eating loads, but I stopped working out. I put on like 13 kilos of fat. Like,
fuck, really? Aye.
I was like, so when lockdown happened, I was like 73 kilos, and after like 2 months of like not working out but eating the same amount every day, I was like 86.
Oh really? Aye.
And it wasn't muscle. It was
you've probably put on a bit more than that, because you'd have lost a bit of muscle, so you'd have probably put on a bit. I hate to be that cunt. I mean, it has to tell you put on more than 13 kg, but
but I wasn't feeling good. I wasn't feeling good about myself, you know. I was just like, you know, when's this all going to be over? You know, feeling sorry for myself and all that. And then when they found out that these ICW tapings were going to be happening, I was like, it was like I woke up. I was like, right, I'm out of it now. Like when they told me that these things are going to happen, I was like, stop feeling sorry for myself. I was like, this is it. I've got to get back in shape. I've got to be ready for these tapings. You know, and obviously lockdown, I was drinking too much and stuff like that. I was, you know, wasn't doing.
Fuck who isn't, mate? Know what I mean?
Yeah,
fucking
trying to sort of numb the pain, you know. So I was like, right, I just need to get back in gear. I need to put my mind back in gear for wrestling. I need to get prepared for this mentally and physically. So, stopped drinking for like 3 months, cause when I knew these things were gonna be happening. Like stopped drinking for like 3 months, and I was going to the gym it was just when the gyms reopened. So I was going to the gym every single day, because I wasn't even working. I had nothing else to do.
No,
like, fuck it. If the gyms are open now, I'm going to go to the gym every day. So I was going twice a day. I'm going to the gym, because I got two gym memberships. One to this gym called Iron Girders Gym, which is like a wrestling gym, which has got a wrestling ring in it and stuff. And one to this like bodybuilding gym called Extreme. So
Extreme in is it one of Bishop Briggs?
No, it's the one in Brigton that we went to.
Brigton, I do that every fucking time. I think there is one in Bishop Briggs, but there's one in Brigton.
I'm sure there's two.
I think they originated in Bishop Briggs. When they first opened, they used to see, obviously it's like a big bar of mad beefcakes, man. I don't know if I'm sure it's true. When they first opened, you couldn't get a membership unless you could bench 100 key.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
But I think obviously they fucking changed that now, because all sorts of cunts got it.
But no, I wanted to get back into shape. So when I was at 86, I dropped all that fat. I went back down to like maybe 77, and then I just smashed the gym, literally twice a day, every day. I'm eating 5,000 calories a day. Like I'm 200 grams of protein a day. I'm doing this consistent because I had nothing else to do. I was like,
that's all you could do.
I'm like that type of person who just goes all out. So I was like, and because I was like felt so horrible about myself before, I was like, if I just focus all my energy on this one thing, you know, I won't be able to think about how shit it is. They're in lockdown and I was
it'll be a distraction for you.
Exactly. So I'm just going to focus all my time on that. And I did it. I put the weight back on in muscle. So like when the tapings came back, I was like 85
You're
kilos.
a fucking unit.
I was 85 kilos, but I'd been at the gym every day for like 3 months, man, twice a day. I'm a beast, you know. I felt good about myself.
Coming back bigger than you were before,
Yeah.
pinching up your flabby and all that, man. Sitting fucking boozing and eating
I took that as an opportunity, and I thought to myself, well, if we're going to be wrestling again, and we can back on these shows, and I'm going to be on the WWE Network, then I'm going to come back, and I'm going to be bigger, I'm going to be faster, I'm going to be stronger. You know, I cut my hair off, so I had like a new look as well. You know, so I wanted to come back and like not the same thing I was before. I wanted to sort of reinvent myself.
Spark a bit of life back into it, because obviously the character had been away for that long. You do come back and do the same shit.
Yeah, and I found that once I started improving myself physically, that I started to improve mentally as well. You know, for me, the gyms were a lifesaver. Like when I started going back to when the gyms reopened and I was going to the gym twice a day, like my mental state went right up, and because I wasn't in the house all day, and I found like once I started getting better, getting better physically, I started getting better mentally as well. I was feeling better about myself. I had that confidence coming back, you know.
Plus the fact you weren't drinking and all, and probably you'd have been eating a bit better as well. And plus see all the calories, it's helping you burn them off.
Exactly, yeah.
It's natural highs and all. It's like, see if you could put it into a pill what the gym can do for you. Cunts would take it fucking religiously.
It's this huge like rush of endorphins, you know, it really does. And I was feeling good about myself, feeling more confident. And then when we started doing the tapings, I felt great because, you know, I was getting to like watch myself on the WWE Network every week.
And you were
cool,
producing some new shows. It was like some new content.
It was just a bit of sort of, even though there was no fans in the crowd, which I don't mind too much actually, because I think because I've worked in front of cameras before, I actually quite like it with no fans. You know, I can always talk to the camera and stuff like that. A lot of people don't like it, but I
hate it, man.
Yeah, see, I don't mind it.
For the fans.
You're an entertainer. You're entertaining people. Man.
Obviously, the fans are
a pure different dynamic.
The fans are a big part of the show.
Plus, it's easier. It's probably easier for him because he kind of gets his own. All that when I'm doing ICW, I've only like. So what he was saying there, when we done the Dallas Mavericks thing, that was my first thing as a bad guy, and then that ended quite soon, and then I was meant to go into a feud with a guy called Red Light, and then he patched his dope wrestling again, get injured or something like that. So then I had to go into this thing with Grado, and to be fair, Grado helped me, you know what I mean? He helped me a lot, but then after that, it was, what was it going into? After Grado, it was the square going, somebody wrestling another guy. And then obviously
everything went down. It was just like
everything went down. So then obviously I've not really had a lot of chance to be like a bad guy. So like you need the crowd to kind of tell you how you're doing. So I'm getting in there, you know what I mean? And like I'm getting judged off obviously all the people who make all these decisions about ICW and that, which is fair enough, you know what I mean? But I'm being out there and I'm being shit in my head. I think I'm shit because I've got nobody to tell me. Nobody's cheering me or booing me. Or doing
at least if you've got the crowd there and you hear them cheering, you're like, oh, I'm
you know what I'm doing, right?
The couple of tapings I'd been putting with people that are. I'm not going to say less experience, but I've probably got a bit more experience with him, except for One Boy, but he was expecting me just to... The One Boy had more matches that was experienced, so he was just expecting me to run with...
take the lead.
I take the lead, but I'm sitting there like you told me, I heard like, they're a bad guy, I'm expecting you to take the lead. And then the other boy, he was just expecting me because I was more experienced, and he's like, oh, you're obviously... I'm like, no.
I'll take a back seat, kind of like
you can. For Davey, it's I was more used to being a bad guy or a heel, because I'd been a heel for like 3 years. Whereas Davey was like a good guy for 3 years, right. So he was still sort of getting used to like. Whereas I'd already gotten used to being a bad guy, and I'd sort of I was confident.
But plus, I know you were getting like good guy spots in. You were getting spots on like GPWA shows and that, and all the other shows is like good guys and bad guys.
Yeah, so
good guys for a full 3 years, and I'm still a good guy everywhere else. But one place just to say, like, no, be good. Let's see how it is as a bad guy, which is fair enough, not I mean.
Whereas I had the chance to sort of...
I had the chance to hone it and craft.
I had the chance to get good at being a good guy and a bad guy, because I was sort of doing them both at different companies, whereas Davey was always just a good guy. So it's obviously going to be a bit harder to go from that to...
Definitely, especially if you've not had the experience of doing it before, know what I mean? And plus, see what you're talking about with the audience, because see when... you go back to the ukulele moment, man. Imagine you wouldn't have known how well that went. No, I mean, it's the audience playing the camera.
That segment when it worked and no fans there, it just
plus as well. See, like if you're doing like a tape show, so it's obviously whoever's deciding you've done well is like maybe Dallas or somebody like that.
Yeah.
Whereas before the audience cheered like that off, but they might have no thought it went well, but if the audience thought,
exactly,
if it wasn't their cup of tea, the audience has kind of dictated that for them. No, I mean, if you eliminate the audience, you're eliminating a good part of the decision making process.
But it's just been great to be back wrestling. To be honest, like even though there's no crowd, it's still it's still nice to be doing it. And
it's better than sitting in the house getting mad at it anyway, man.
It's nice, and the fact that we've got this good exposure now that's going up on the WWE Network every week, it's a cool thing to see. It's a good time for British wrestling. Obviously I'm looking forward to when the fans are going to be back, but hopefully in the meantime I'm happy with just wrestle. I just love wrestling.
Well, at least you can keep wrestling, man.
Even if there's fans there, I've wrestled on paid shows when there's only been 5 people in the crowd, so I've wrestled in front of no people.
It's just a wrestling for you, does it, man?
I just love wrestling. So whether that's with fans or without them, I'm just glad and grateful that I still get to do it.
That's the main thing, man. So see, obviously it's looking kind of up in the air when fans make the turn back and everything can start taking off again, but obviously when that does, what's your kind of goals in that, like coming back to like fucking ICW, you want to kind of like go to American kind of stuff, have you got in mind of that?
I've got a lot in mind, obviously you've got plans when you get into this, but I mean hopefully when fans come back, my goal is I want to be the next ICW World Heavyweight Champion. I've done the 0G Championship. I feel like for me that's the next step.
That's the next step.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to be focusing all my energy and all my time on, is becoming the next ICW World Heavyweight Champion.
Hope you're watching this, Dallas.
Yeah, and then
put it on record.
Hopefully down the line, there's the thing is at the moment there's so many different things going on in wrestling that it's not like 10 years ago when it was WWE. If you want to be a wrestler, it was WWE.
That was the only one short selling.
Whereas now we've got so much, like WWE have got the NXT UK branch, so it's like WWE but in the UK. They've got their own thing and they've got the Performance Center, so that's an opportunity. You've got AEW, which is another major company in America now. You've got Ring of Honor, the one I'm saying that Joe Hendry wrestles for. You've got all these companies in Japan as well. Like whereas now, because wrestling sort of experienced this boom recently, now there's so much more opportunities because there's so many more places to wrestle, but there's also so much more people who are hungry and so much more people who are determined to get to these places.
The competition's kind of stepped up a notch.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I don't like to say I've got one specific place I'd like to go. The goal for me is to get a contract with a major company. To one day.
You're no fuss if it's obviously if it's WWE, amazing, but it's one of the ones.
Yeah, I mean, obviously WWE, that's what I've watched.
That's the kind of pinnacle, but
WWE
obviously that's not the be all and end all.
WWE is what I've watched since I was 5 years old. So like any wrestler that tells you their dream isn't of wrestling for WWE is lying.
I know.
Unless you're like born in Japan or whatever, but except for a Western wrestler, like if you grew up watching wrestling, you grew up watching WWE, maybe WCW if you're a bit older, but everyone's dreamt of wrestling for WWE. When I was a little guy watching Rey Mysterio and John Cena, obviously I dreamed of being WWE champion someday. But like I said, at this day and age, there's so much going on. There's so much companies operating at a high level as well. Like AEW is the one that I love watching. I watch every week. So there's so many great companies that hopefully one day like I said, the goal is not so much anymore to wrestle for WWE. For me, the goal is I just want to hopefully one day get a contract with a major wrestling company, like that would be.
And the fact you've got that as your option, there's so many different companies opening up, it's like a good thing as well, because it's before it was like right just waiting on the shout for WWE, and no saying for yourself, but for some people it might never happen. You know what I mean? And it would be a lot of deal.
Most people it will never happen.
And then see you have that as your pinnacle, and it's just that's your one shot.
Like,
you know what I mean?
One thing with wrestling that's got similar to acting is is not everyone makes it, and that's something you've got to accept in your head, is that not everyone is going to make it at a high level in this business. Like not everyone succeeds, and just like with acting, not everyone's going to succeed. But I'm just going to keep doing everything I can. Just keep trying to stay fit, trying to stay sharp in the ring. So eventually when everything comes back, I'm ready. And I just figured, I just want to keep smashing it, and then hopefully good things will come.
That's it, man. Just get your head doing and grind. See the fact you're on WWE Network as well with ICW. It's a foot in the door. There's people. I think a lot of people's wrestling for the organisations that aren't getting that.
Yeah.
So right now you've kind of got like. Somebody in WWE knows your name, know what I mean?
Yeah,
and that's how you think about it.
And all it takes is maybe one person to see a match, and
exactly, just takes for that right match.
But at the moment I'm in this mindset where I'm not even trying to think about that.
I know.
I just want to focus on myself and focus on being the best wrestler I can be, and then if good things come. But I'm not going to be actively seeking out. I'm just trying to focus on myself and be the best wrestler I can be.
Short-term goals. That's the way forward. Know what I mean? Because that's the way you can grow as a wrestler.
I'm 23, man. I'm a young guy. I've still got. Most wrestlers are in their prime of wrestling. In their early mid-30s. So I've got plenty left in the tank. I want to be able to do this for at least another 20 years. So I've got plenty of time to get there. Right now, at this early stage of my career, it's just still about being the best wrestler I can be and becoming better physically in the ring, on the microphone. Just focusing on yourself.
Yeah, that's it, man. As you focus yourself, the rest will come natural, as I say. You know, and you're putting in the time and effort, so it just does take us for somebody, just that right person to see that right match or something. But you put in the time and effort, there's no way it can't happen. Whereas with WWE, I don't know personally if it's going to happen with WWE, but I know for a fact, God, you've got the CV. If somebody was to write who would be a perfect kind of wrestler, you've got the kind of perfect background. You know what I mean? You've done it.
And if it doesn't happen, you know, at least I can say that I've given it my 100%. I've given my best crack at it, you know. And I could say, like when I moved, my original goal was to move to Glasgow, wrestle for ICW, and be the ICW 0G champion, you know. And I've done that, so you know, I can say that I've accomplished what my goal was. When I started out in wrestling, that was my goal: wrestle for ICW, win the 0G championship. And I've done, you know, I wrestle on every ICW show, and I'm a former 0G champion. So I've done everything I want to do. So I'm already, you know, a winner to me. You know, like I can comfortably say that I've done what I wanted to do. So even if it never happens, you know, I'll die a happy man knowing that I gave it 100% and I did something that makes me happy, you know.
I definitely took a risk, and the risk has paid off.
Exactly,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the many people wouldn't move to Bristol to go and work. I mean, it's a heavy chance to take, especially going Stein with a couple of students in Kelvin Bridge.
Aye.
But Defos, I believe in you, mate. If there's anything got to do, it's got to be yourself. You know what I mean? You've got the confidence, you've got the fucking charisma and all that.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Definitely, man. But have you got anything you want to promote before we finish up?
I mean, not much going on at the moment. You know, catch ICW every Saturday on the WWE Network. $9.99 a month. That's about it. Keep your eyes peeled. Hopefully we'll get some shows back with fans sometime this year if everything keeps getting better, you know. Hopefully. But no, thanks for having me on the show, man. I really appreciate it. You know?
In the meantime, watch this space. Premeditated part. We've got the bold Leyton Buzzard, aka Arthur. And we've got the bold Ravie Davie, aka David. And we've got Fivo, aka Big 50.